Are you familiar with FBI Special Agents Kyle Seraphin?
I'm familiar with the name.
Is that yes?
I'm familiar with the name. Familiar with the name. Familiar with the name.
Let's bring in Kyle Seraphin. He's the FBI whistleblower who helped expose government censorship of our First Amendment rights.
Now, we only have this memo because a recently suspended FBI agent called Kyle Seraphin brought it to the public. And we're grateful that he did. Kyle, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
He's the host of something that strangely is called the Kyle Seraphin Show.
Kyle Seraphin, I can't thank you enough for speaking out. I knew you guys were out there, and I knew it was just a matter of time, but you got a lot of guts putting your face and your name to this. You're doing a service on behalf of the American people, and from the bottom of my cracked and broken heart sometimes, thank you very much.
Take a look behind the curtain with a real whistleblower and American patriot. Prepare to embrace the uncomfortable truth because this program has no time for comforting lies. Here is civil liberties enthusiast, Second Amendment defender, and recovering FBI agent Kyle Seraphin.
Well, hello, my friends. Welcome to the Kyle Seraphin Show. Today is Thursday. It is August the 22nd. If you joined us in the live chat over on Rumble, you know I'm hurting today. I've seen so many retards that I am processing it, and it is weighing heavy on me in a way that I did not expect. Oh my God. I want off this ride. Am I the only one? I can't do it. I'm watching these clowns. I'm watching these idiots out there just doing stuff. I've got as much as I can handle. And I hope we're going to be able to make you laugh. At least some of the people are out there having a good time. Mike Lindell shaved off his mustache. You'll be shocked to know he still sounds exactly like Mike Lindell. And he looks like Mike Lindell with no mustache. And he wore like a hat like Dennis Nedry did in Jurassic Park to try to hide at the DNC. Some pretty interesting things being exposed, I think. Steve Cortez did a nice video, which I'm not going to play, but he's rolling out there and showing that they couldn't get this illegal Venezuelan immigrant, who I assume was like some member of his staff or something like that. But he's out there trying to push people into the DNC. And it turns out you need ID, and they have walls, and they've got security, and they don't want you in if you're not one of the people. They have a star-studded array of influencers and celebrities, and I despise all of those types of people. So we're going to cover kind of some of the stuff they said, but the things that are actually being pushed are pretty radical. And then you get this weird moment of truth from like the most unlikely source, the COVID tyranny sort of bros, the Don Lemon and Chris Cuomo tag team that was out there telling us we were bad people. Chris Cuomo is kind of trying to reinvent himself. I don't think he believed any of the crap he said. I think he took money, and I think he's a bad actor, and I think he has low morals for doing so. But the discussion of corporate greed and actual greed and how these people just play the heartstrings of the retards, it's incredible. It really is actually shocking. And you don't realize how dumb these people are. I don't think there's a lot of them, actually. I do think that there's plenty of Americans that have no idea what's going on. But it's kind of surprising when you gather them all in one place. And then I guess we'll try to talk about some of the actual consequences of that, which I'll throw a slide together real quick as we're actually going. All right, should we get started with the sponsor? How about my friends at Catholic Vote? They're going to bring us one of our articles a little bit later, CatholicVote.org. If you guys are not getting the loop, you're going to miss out on some really good coverage. Some of the stuff that I am not covering today because I'm going to be so clip-laden so that we can see what they're doing. CatholicVote.org/loop if you want to read the loop, /get loop if you want to get the loop, or just go to their main page and fill it in. Faith, family, and freedom are the values of my friends over there, and they also see the problems that some of you may see in the Catholic Church. Whether you're Catholic or not, it's a great news feed. It is as good as anything out there when it comes to news aggregators. A lot of people used to spend hours and hours on Drudge Report, and it's garbage, and it doesn't do its good job anymore. There are other places you can do that. Catholic Vote and The Loop are one of those. Follow them on social media at Catholic Vote. Follow them on YouTube if you guys are on YouTube. Follow them on Rumble if you're on Rumble. Catholic Vote is the name of the channel as well. Very easy to do, and they keep the Kyle Seraphin Show in diaper money. Which, speaking of which, I've got an almost 1-year-old. She'll be 1 this week. Or next week, I guess, the beginning of next week. And she's walking. And so this morning, before I got started, which is kind of like my new routine, I go down and I grab my last cup of coffee right before we go live. And I've got a Catholic Vote mug sitting here. You guys can see. I asked them to send me a special one that was all black. Sorry, all white with black lettering. And my kids, they come up in order and they all want hugs like I'm going to work. But I just go upstairs to do the podcast, which is really funny. And now my youngest, who is 3 days shy being 1 year old, comes toddling up to get the hugs like everybody else. Very, very cool stuff. That, for me, is what this is all about, which is why it is so strange and radical that we're seeing these people just push this crazy line. So let me see if I can make some sense of it. Yesterday, I made the analogy that we were watching like a rich people dinner party while the kids are outside destroying stuff. Now, thankfully, the Chicago PD is doing the job they need to do. They're out there and regulating the true retards. But I don't know how we can have an election that is not... I don't know how we can have an election that's not ripped off, stolen, fraudulent, and fair. And it's because the radicalist part of the left, the wildest, stupidest, illogical part of the left, the feminists for Palestine who are aligned with the queers for Palestine, who are aligned with the LGBTQIA plus for Palestine people, those folks are not on board with Kamala Harris. So how do you get your person across the finish line when the real radical base is not there and you have actually radical candidates, like full socialist weirdos? I guess you try to get the moms that are not paying attention, that love Oprah, that grew up like when I did, and their mom was watching Oprah and now they're watching Oprah. Oprah looks really good, by the way. So there's that. They listen to Michelle Obama and they think that Michelle Obama's take on racism is actually totally reasonable. You get the clapping seals like we showed yesterday about how brilliant her speech was, when in fact it was some of the most racist things I've ever heard. And I want to just underline that. We've got actually more pieces of it today. Some of the things she said are so crazy. She's talking about the privilege maybe of Donald Trump, but it just could be applied to anybody. The idea that they don't have generational wealth is absurd. Her family is insanely wealthy. And they're making fun of Donald Trump's wealth. J.B. Pritzker went out and did that, talking about what a real billionaire looks like. And they're normalizing feminine men. I actually have two different clips on here, 17 and 18. Yeah, we went really deep into the weeds here. And both of them are called MSNBC and CNN say men should be pussies, which is exactly like, I don't know any other way to say it. It makes me sick. I watch this stuff and like I said, I feel gross about it. Let's start off with this one. Start off with MSNBC. Oprah Winfrey's speech at the DNC was a surprise masterclass in patriotism. These people are just insulated against reality so strongly. On Wednesday night, she spoke of unity while reminding Americans about democracy and respect at the ballot. Who better to bring home the meaning of e pluribus unum, from many one, than Oprah? The one-name wonder is her own economic force, a woman who can move stock prices simply by placing her car keys under the seat or mentioning a book title or creating a Christmas list, blah, 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 blah. And she wants to fight against the people who seek to divide and conquer America. I'm just going to give you one little taste of the Oprah speech. You let me know if this is what patriotism looks like. To me, it's more very, very wealthy black women talking about racism in a way, in a country where they exist at a level that most of us cannot even fathom. Like the lives they lead are so privileged, it's unbelievable. I'm not sparing you. You guys have to know. Also, I've heard this like 20 times today. This is part of my retard hangover. So this is the one that's making me feel gross.
From the redwood forests, love those redwoods, to the Gulf Stream waters, I've seen racism and sexism and income inequality and division. I've not only seen it, at times I've been on the receiving end of it.
Right? I mean, think about who is more discriminated against in this country than Oprah. Love those redwood forests. Love the. It's a person that's been listening to her own voice for a long time. I understand this instinct because I hear some of the things I say and I go like, I don't think I should say that again. Does she look back at herself anymore, or does she just know that she's Oprah and everything she said is going to get like the barking, clapping seals? People are just going to go for it. There's another person out there who might be one of the most privileged human beings in the world, doesn't have any reason to have been, shouldn't be sitting in the seat that she is, shouldn't be as wealthy as she is. It's Nancy Pelosi, who just cannot get over the fact that her dentures don't fit, and she can't get over the fact that January 6th happened, which it seems like they set up, which it seems like she allowed to happen by not having the right resources in play. I don't know. This doesn't seem like patriotism for a group that keeps talking about unity, and they're certainly whitewashing this in the media. I don't see how you call this stuff a unifying. Like women worth $70, $100 million, worth multi-billion. I think Oprah's worth like $3.5 billion. You've got the richest people in the world getting up and talking about something, and they're getting the poors to clap and to move out there and be their foot soldiers, which tells me that they're very low information and they're not critical thinkers. It doesn't take a lot to shoot this apart. Here's Nancy talking about her little, her need is that we need to have fair and free elections as long as they are done the way that I say, which is by using all these machines, which did not exist when I was a kid. We were still able to count the votes, but that's how it has to be done because how else are they going to stay in power?
Those entrusted with its care. And we must choose leaders who believe in free and fair elections, who respect the peaceful transfer of power. The choice couldn't be clearer. Those leaders are Vice President Harris and Governor Walz.
Oh, they're so great. They're so good. And you know who else is really good is Barack Obama. Now, I think I said it the other day that it's something incredible when you're a politician and you believe your own BS to the point where you get choked up by your own speech. And Barack Obama, he's truly gifted if you were to just listen to him in a vacuum. When somebody looks back from 50 years and they listen and they're hear it the same way that we hear kind of Martin Luther King Jr. Oh, it's because he stole that same style. But he has that sort of that ability to grab a crowd and to hold them right there so that when you hear him speak, and even when I don't like the man and I don't care for anything he has to say, when I listen to him, I want to know what the next sentence is. For me, that is being able to build in a pregnant pause, being able to build in anticipation, almost an anxiety that I have to hear the end of this thought. That's something that Barack Obama does really well. And he always has. And there were people that used to do that before. They used to always say that about Bill Clinton. I never understood it because I didn't like his voice. But there is a kind of an interesting passing of the torch because we used to have a Bill Clinton America where we kind of agreed on the values. We kind of agreed on what was right and wrong. And the issue was like, how do we afford it? How do we pay for it? Should it be private industry? Should we be more government focused? Is it a policy question? That was the Clinton America as I saw it. That we could kind of agree that this was the place to be, that we were the winners in the Cold War because we were the better, morally better. And interestingly enough, Bill Clinton also spoke. I'm not going to play him just yet. Actually, I don't think I have any clips of him because I listened and he sounds so old and he sounds really, really weak. But there is a little bit of a commentary. For whatever it's worth, CNN has been putting on this guy named Scott Jenkins, who's been really straight on, probably because he's a Republican. That's got to be a weird job to do too, right? Being a Republican working for one of these news networks. In any case, a little taste of Barack Obama. He's making fun of Tim Walz. He's normalizing this guy who's not fashionable, who is kind of dumpy, who has lied about his military service, who is a National Guardsman. And, you know, it's like he was a high school coach. I don't know. I knew some high school coaches. I don't think any of them were people that I was really impressed with. I actually compare Chris Wray to a high school coach, but not a real one. Chris Wray, the director of the FBI, is actually like a high school coach that you'd expect to see in a Lifetime movie. So he says these platitudes, and it turns out that he's actually like the villain. He's actually doing bad things in the background. That's Chris Wray. I think Walz is kind of like a bumbling person. He appears to be. He's not particularly sophisticated. He's used to talking to people that have to listen to him. You guys know in the military what I'm talking about. If the guy who stands in for the job of the command sergeant major gets up, you still have to listen to him. But I didn't. You kind of still want to tell him to go F off. In any case, Barack Obama's kind of making fun of how he's not one of these multimillionaires, and that's why we're going to put him up there. Does that make me trust you more when all the big money people want to put this guy in there? What do you guys have on him? I actually got a funny clip we'll kind of wrap up in a bit talking about that. But let's get a little Barack Obama. I understand that it's ruining your coffee buzz. I'm sorry. If you're listening later in the day on one of the Apple or the Spotify or the iHeartRadio or so on, then you're in better shape because you're already awake. You already understand this.
Let me tell you something. I love this guy. Tim is the kind of person who should be in politics. Born in a small town, served his country, taught kids, coached football, took care of his neighbors. He knows who he is, and he knows what's important. You can tell those flannel shirts he wears don't come from some political consultant. They come from his closet. and they have been through some stuff. They have been through some stuff. That's right.
Yeah, so that was his wife right there talking about, like, yeah, that's right. They've been through the laundry. Mm-hmm. Yuck. He had a bunch of people from the state championship football team that he was an assistant coach for come out. There's an article that says, this was, I think, on NBC's website that said, do not underestimate a public school teacher. I mean, maybe you guys had some great teachers in public schools. I actually went to public schools for, let me think here. I went for a little bit in third grade. I went for all of fourth grade. So I had 2 public schools experiences. And they were like a year and change of my life that was completely wasted as a student. In kind of an important time because I was young. And I just used to sit and read encyclopedias because I just didn't care about what they were talking about. And then they would ask me a question and I would just answer it. And I would just go back to my book and I would just go read. I just read because I wasn't being educated in that forum. And these were quote unquote good public schools. I had the blessing and the privilege of my parents spent a lot of money on education, and I went to schools 5th and 6th grade where like I learned Latin at a high school level to the point where I tested out of all the Latin that they had when I got into high school, that kind of thing, as a coming out of 8th grade. And so I think education is really important. It's important that it's actually education and not indoctrination. And we're going to play a little clip from the AG of Michigan who doesn't agree with that. She doesn't think so. And so when you have an uneducated group of people, when you have people that have been dumbed down to a level that's fairly shocking, then you end up with this sort of thing. This is a piece written by Mary Cunningham talking about social media influencers are hitting the DNC. Can they bring along the youth vote? And why do they need the youth vote? Because the youth vote means that they don't have any skin in the game economically. They have never paid any taxes. They don't make the most income. And what's funny is that some of these influencer types, which is what they're bringing on, these kind of like youngish people in their 20s, I'm pretty old to be in the game of influencers, which is why I probably despise the term. But these people that are in their 20s are making really good money. If you can go to socialblade.com if you've never used it. You can go to Social Blade and see exactly how much money some of these accounts and these influencer types can bring in on a video. That's a lot. And so theoretically, they don't want to pay those taxes, you would think, but maybe they just don't know any better. Maybe they don't know anything about business. They just know about how to do content creation. So the guy that we're seeing on the screen right here is an influencer that is 28 years old, and he does viral food reaction videos. Like a really serious political mind. That's what they want to bring along. The programming is going to have special appearances from different influencers, including someone called Deja Fox, Nabella Nora, Carlos Eduardo Espina. These are none of these names I know. Olivia Juliana, and John Russell, and Kaylin Allen, who I think we're seeing on the screen. Upwards of 1 million followers on TikTok and Instagram. Apparently, and if you guys have listened, we actually did a program with some Gen Z types. A couple of them we did that were in college, and they were like, yeah, this is where kids go and get their information. They go to TikTok. They listen to some retard that knows nothing. And they say conspiracy theories. They say loosely connected information. They give their take on the news, knowing nothing about it, having never been out in the world, not having any skin in the game when I say to like, they haven't done anything about America. There's a reason why like most of the people I listen to have had pretty extensive life experience and why I discount most of the talking heads. In any case, this guy, Allen, who you're seeing on the screen, says this is a brilliant strategy. I want to give you guys a taste because I was like, who the hell is this guy? I mean, I don't know who these people are, and neither do you. So I'm going to play a little bit of his social media, I guess, fame. And I had to do it a different way. I tried to rip it off YouTube, and I couldn't actually rip his videos. They're actually protected. So I'm doing it in a different way than I normally would. So allow me to give me just a second to kind of cue it up. But this is what this guy does, and he's going to go talk about politics. So we'll just listen to a little bit of this. All right, so here is his channel, and we got to push play.
It's a big old block of cheese. Why they got them holes in the top? Did she grease it? What did she put it on? Oh, eggs. On the cheese? That's different. Oh, that yolk is kind of broke, girl. Okay.
So he's doing commentary on somebody else's video of egg and cheese and pasta.
What? I ain't never seen that before.
This is how he makes his money.
You gonna put some water in there? She must not be Italian.
If you're listening,
What's the,
we've got a
name for,
pan, we've got a
Italian
bunch of
grandma?
risotto
Nana?
on the
Nana?
that's dry,
I'm mad about this.
a block of cheese that's got holes in it, and some egg yolks. And here he is, reacting.
Hot dogs. What the hell is this? What?
And we're adding our sausages.
Them not sausages. Those are hot dogs. Two different things.
So I'm very anxious to find out how this all turns out for him. I want to know what happens at the end of this food video. I kind of want to see, like, this is his thing. He's channeling kind of Axel Foley without any of the charm of Axel Foley. That reminds me, because that was one of those videos I used to watch when I was a kid. I used to watch people who were actually funny, like professional comedians. Anyway, he makes a ton of money doing this kind of thing. So they're bringing him in because people listen to what he says about sausages and dry risotto and cheese in a pan. So, I mean, obviously what he thinks about policy should be really important. And then the other end of it is sort of the Rachel Maddow, the professional class of commentators. So I got some of those as well. I'm going to play you just how moving and important. If you guys missed the Michelle Obama speech, you actually missed maybe the most influential speech ever been given in an American political convention. Or we live in an era of hyperbole. What does Joe Biden like to say? Not a joke. Yeah, it's all hyperbole. Let's cut away to my buddies at Patriot Coolers for just a second. Just get a little breather. I'm going to need a little drink of water here. PatriotCoolers.com is the website. This is how you go and support our channel. But you also support our friends at Patriot Coolers who are not retarded and make a good product. Here's mine. There it is. It's got the gun. The pen is mightier than the sword until the sword is mightier than the pen. That may be necessary at some point. I'm actually doing more and more and more research into buying a Barrett 50 cal based on some of the stuff that I'm seeing out there in the world. That video I showed you guys yesterday has been convincing me there's a reason. PatriotCoolers.com will be sitting right next to me when I'm sitting behind the glass on my 50 cal looking down the line at government armor. Take that for whatever it's worth, FBI. Promo code Kyle, K-Y-L-E. K-Y-L-E. It's 4 letters. It saves you 10%. It's the same discount you would get if you're a military veteran, by the way. You're not going to get a better discount from that, but K-Y-L-E is the one that benefits us, and it lets them know that we sent you. And by the way, you don't have to give them your ID or tell them anything else about you. You just put in those 4 letters, save yourself 10%, $50 or more, free shipping, patriotcoolers.com, our longtime friends and sponsors, and we do appreciate them. And yeah, I'm seriously looking at a 50 cal now. I reached out to Eric, the Iraq veteran 8888. And I'm like, hey, bro, what kind of glass do I got to put on this thing? And he was like, you got to get a Leopold. It's got to be a Mark IV, Mark VI, Mark VIII, something like that. You guys are asking when I'm going to have some scotch in my Patriots cooler. And I'll tell you what. I said it as a joke a little while ago to some people, but I am not drinking, not in months. And I don't intend to drink until after whatever happens. So I don't know what's happening, but it might be a little while. I just don't think there's any upside to me having a drink at this point and making myself weaker or less strong or less capable. Let's do Rachel Maddow. She's so good. I mean, she's so bright and lesbian-y looking, and she was a Rhodes Scholar. She's also really wealthy. She's, I think, the highest paid person there. I found out that Joy Reid apparently makes like $1.5 million. She makes $1.5 million a year. And Rachel Maddow eclipses her by quite a bit. So these people are, they're just like you and me. They just put their pants on one leg at a time. It just turns out their pants are a couple $1,000s at a time. We're actually going to cover Michelle Obama's brilliant outfit, which is taking the internet by storm. Here's Rachel Maddow letting you know what you missed.
A speech from Michelle Obama that I have to say is one of the best convention speeches I've ever seen by anybody in any circumstance. Not just because she's good at giving a speech, but because it was subtle and deep and thought-provoking and surprising. She did make a parallel point that her husband made as well in his speech about how this is going to be a close election and how there are practical things that need to be done. But her speech, speaking from a place, both a practical and very heartfelt place about what it is to be a person in politics, what it is to be a person in politics when you feel like you've got the momentum, but also when it feels like the momentum's gone, and when there's despair around your prospects, and when you make mistakes, and what people need to do to shore you up in that moment. Very unusual, I think perfectly delivered, and just a stunning speech.
They just absolutely love it. Van Jones was on the same thing. I don't know if they marched out these talking points, but when you start talking about it, and Anderson Cooper here saying, these are the best speeches that have ever been given, like, were they though? Are they even close? We have to do this here.
Michelle Obama's speech was probably the most effective, powerful political speech I've ever heard. It was rather remarkable.
I didn't know how much I missed them. I missed them. I missed that. I miss hearing that. Biden did something important last night, and he transferred the machinery of the party to Kamala Harris. The Obamas renewed the magic of the movement. That's what.
Oh, good. The magic of the movement. It was that magic of the movement that really got me feeling good about this. It was that sort of subtle racism that's not so subtle. I don't think we played this the other day, but Donald Trump obviously is a racist. There's actually a mega clip of them saying the word Donald Trump, and it goes on for 50 seconds of just individual new people at the DNC saying the name Donald Trump over and over and over again. They're obsessed with this guy. And I get it that he's their political opponent, but why don't they talk about what their great ideas are? It's never like their great ideas in opposition. It's just that Donald Trump is evil. You want to talk about the cult, and I get that Trumpy people get hit with the culty mentality. These people are the NPCs, the non-player characters. It's the video game character that is programmed with like weak AI so that whenever you change the thing, like they walk up to you. These are the people in The Legend of Zelda when I was a kid that you'd walk into the store, and every time you go into the store, the character is not run by a person, it's run by the machine, right? And the machine just goes like, welcome to the store. Like, what would you like to buy? That's what these people are like. And I've got a great video of just walking around the DNC asking people, hey, what's your favorite Kamala policy? And they don't have any answers. Meanwhile, they hate Donald. And I've actually got a palate cleanser for you today that you will understand. It's from 2004 when everybody on the left, the entertainment people, the wealthy people in this space loved him. They absolutely loved him. And how quickly they change.
It couldn't be more obvious. Of the two major candidates in this race, only Kamala Harris truly understands the unseen labor and unwavering commitment that has always made America great. Now, unfortunately, we know what comes next. We know folks are going to do everything they can to distort her truth. My husband and I sadly know a little something about this. For years, Donald Trump did everything in his power to try to make people fear us. See, his limited, narrow view of the world made him feel threatened by the existence of two hardworking, highly educated, successful people who happen to be black.
Maybe it was just because you're communists and that you hate America. Maybe that was the thing that he had a real problem with. I don't think it had anything to do with you being black. But make it about race, lady. There's another little piece of this that I thought was really fun. This is one of the more quoted things that I've seen on social media. Yeah, you guys are seeing why I have the hangover right now. I get that. That's nice. And thank you guys for joining us in the chat. Once again, if you guys are joining this video and you're seeing us anywhere, make sure you share it around. Make sure you guys have liked it. Subscribe if you're interested. We appreciate all that. How about this little take? Michelle Obama, and I'm going to show you why it's so funny in just a second, but Michelle Obama lets you know a little bit about that humble upbringing that she came up in. And it makes you question how she fell so far from the tree. At least it makes me question that. How do you stand up there the same way that Oprah did, talking about how she's been the victim of sexism and racism as a billionaire? Here's a woman that, her job was first lady? She gives 1-hour speeches and gets paid $750,000 a year. There are American families that don't make that in 10 years of actual labor. And she goes out and gives a speech off the top of her head and gets paid out in $750,000 for an hour. That's a pretty high rate. That's like the highest dollar prostitute you can be, I think. But racism. And also, don't be greedy.
Didn't aspire to be wealthy. In fact, they were suspicious of folks who took more than they needed. They understood that it wasn't enough for their kids to thrive if everyone else around us was drowning. So my mother volunteered at the local school. She
Yeah, her mother volunteered at the local school, and they were suspicious of folks that had more than they needed. That's not a very American thought, by the way. Whenever I saw people that had more than they needed, I used to think those people probably worked really hard. The number of people that actually inherit their wealth in this country is actually pretty small. The number of people, like, families are always rising and falling in America. That's the whole point that we're supposed to remember. And the odds of your family staying at the top of the chain, staying at the top of the food chain economically, it's very low because people make terrible decisions. All you got to do is look to the next generation when they inherit that wealth. They usually make less good decisions, but they were at least formed by those who made the good decisions. And 2 generations away, losing the entire fortune is regularly something that can happen unless there's a big trust that holds on to it. I'm always reminded of the Anheuser-Busch heirs, like Augie Busch. There was like a number 3 was like all about cocaine and drug problems and like lost houses for bankruptcy and just made terrible decisions. This is very common for people to lose their fortunes after a period of time. That's the brilliance of America, because they're not landed and they're not actual aristocracy. If you've ever been over to England, and I spent time living there when I was in college, I stayed at Windsor House, I want to say, and it was like in Windsor Park, and it was owned by the Duke of Windsor. And it's this beautiful, like enormous mansion on this huge grounds. And there's people that do nothing all day but ride around on horses and hang out and wear fancy clothes. And they've never had a job and they don't know anything about it. And if they lost all their money, they would still get more money because the crown makes sure that they're propped up. That's not America. In America, you can be 2 people who get together, hate America, despise the principles of it, want to change it fundamentally, and end up like Barack Obama and Michelle Obama with a 15 million 7,000 square foot, 29-acre estate on Martha's Vineyard that you don't live on full time. There's the picture on the screen that you're seeing, that flippin' castle. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful home. Anybody would be lucky to live there. And rather than say that this country is great and it allows for so much, they're hanging out on racism. And my parents didn't think that wealthy people should exist. That's a hard take. This is not just platitudes or just like things that they're pushing out there. The only way that you get this sort of movement, the only way that you're going to get people on board with, I need a bunch of super rich women who have skin color that doesn't align with mine, and I need them to be my rulers, and they know what's best and I shouldn't, is by basically beating men into submission. They have to do cuckery. That's why they chose Tim Walz. It's the only way. And then, luckily, Fox News over here is calling it out. They say, yeah, this is great. Look at this. Here's Dana Bash. Tim Walz, Doug Emhoff, they speak to men who aren't the gun-toting kind of Americans who want to listen to Hulk Hogan. Allow me to make a very contentious statement. If you think Hulk Hogan is a problem, a guy who used to walk out to the WWF music that said, I'm a real American, I fight for the rights of every man. And is Hulk Hogan like every man? No, he's a freak. He is a super freak. He's enormous. He seems very kind-hearted. People who have lived near him said he's a great person. He was successful because of the things that he did. He's charismatic. Hulk Hogan is like a super American. And he represents the way that I remember the 80s. Maybe a little bit of testosterone treatments and or steroids, a lot of like physical labor and working out, men who were bigger than life. Things that were going to go to war against like the Russians in the propaganda war. We had Hulk Hogan's. And we imagined that they had like Dolph Lundgren's, who's not Russian actually. Right? That's the only way that you push this, is that men should feel good about being betas. We showed a video the other day, or maybe you've seen it, of people getting off the bus from a Kamala Harris rally. And there's not a single male on there that I wouldn't think about fighting like 3 or 4 of them at a time. Because I could beat them with a slap, an open-handed slap. And I'm not a big guy. And I'm not much of a fighter if I don't have to be. They're getting out here and they're talking about, he's a hunter, but he's not a gun toter. So they are pushing an effeminate male, I don't know what that is, the opposite of an archetype. I want to get you guys a little taste of how goofy this is. Let me go into my archives here. Here's Dana Bash talking about it, and then we'll do even NBC, like MSNBC got the same exact notes, that men should be weak. It's a bizarre thing that men are not embarrassed that these are the kind of guys that they're bringing on stage. They should be absolutely like horrified by it.
But they are doing so in trying to put forward male figures, Tim Walz being one of them, Doug Emhoff last night, who can speak to men out there who might not be the sort of testosterone-laden, gun-toting kind of guy who wants to listen to Hulk Hogan and the kind of players that came out at the RNC, or might want to listen to that, but also, in addition, understand that it's okay in 2024 to be a man comfortable in his own skin who supports a woman. And that's something that they really are trying to work on with male voters beyond the base.
Abby, we were
Okay, yeah. Real men need to be supporting women. Of course. This is really simple. They need to be supporting them by going out and earning a living and being out in front and being the face of the household. Like, this is not hard. If you're the guy that's going to be like hanging in the background and you're hoping that like your woman is going to tell you how things are supposed to be, you are disordered in a biblical sense, but also in like all of human history. I'm sorry. It's the problem that America's had. We've feminized it. I've said it on this program a number of times. How on earth are you going to try to push this idea after thousands of years of human history? The only reason is because they've decided that they're going to go after, not only are they going to emasculate men, they actually want to sterilize and neuter them. They want to put men into a vasectomy bus that's sitting right outside the DNC. Who are these young people that they're going out and trying to sterilize? Totally bizarre. And it looks closeted. Like we have a friend in the FBI that reaches out all the time. And he was like, and he's gay. And he just goes, I don't understand how anyone's supposed to tell who the difference are because the straight men now all look gay too. That should be an insult. And some men are like, well, thank you. That's so great. Yuck. MSNBC is pushing the same exact line. They love this. And then I think I'll tell you what it means for the party, because it's run off a bunch of people that would otherwise maybe be interested in having that policy discussion with us from the Democrat side, but now are only interested in like garbage values.
Ism trying to own masculinity in the most regressive sort of misogynist way possible. J.D. Vance lecturing everybody on, what a family means, what it means to be a man. Donald Trump obviously has his own version of manhood. To see Tim Walz out there as a man who is just joyfully embracing his role as the potential vice president, to the woman, the nation's first female president, is an extraordinary thing. But also to see his son weeping for his father in a deeply tender and emotional way. And then the last thing I'll say, because I think this hasn't been talked about enough, to see Democrats champion men as voices on reproductive choice. Yeah. As you saw yesterday, I believe, from Amanda Zarowski's husband, tonight from Tim Walz, talking about struggles with infertility. It takes two partners to get pregnant. And for way too long, this conversation has been relegated to women or the carriers of pregnancies. And it is, I think, way overdue to have men express not only their stake in all this, but also their anguish.
I'm blown away. Did you even hear her correct herself? Because they already know what's true and what's not true. These people are still normal human beings, even though they're fake actors. She said that women, or the carriers of the pregnancy, that's their little tranny piece right there, MSNBC, trying to push this thing along. And they showed a young man crying for his dad, weeping, like red-faced and weeping. Just absolute beta material. Dude, you want to give your dad a hug and have a tear in your eye? These things happen. Like, emotions are real. Men have emotions too. It's absurd to think otherwise. You're going to stand up and like weep and cry? Get the F out of here. How beta are these people trying to push? He was sobbing, weeping. It's nuts. I've never seen anything like it. So anyway, okay, you guys are grossed out. I get it. I am too. Let me see if I can throw the Mad Hat Jerky up here. Do we have it? There it is. Let's just take a break and talk about meat. MadHatJerky.com/Kyle is where you guys can go and order your own. Hold on. I got to reach off screen. There it is. Boom. This is one. I order these by the big bag. Like, this is the way big bag. It's like steak in a bag, people. This is the USDA Prime. It's the gourmet flank in black truffle. I haven't even opened this one up yet. This is what I keep as a snack right next to my desk. You guys should do the same thing. Have a decent, high-quality snack. Don't destroy yourself with processed foods that are going to kill your testosterone. Promo code Kyle, K-Y-L-E, will save you 20%, 20%, K-Y-L-E, Matt, 2 T's, hat, 1 T, jerky.com/KYLE. Put that in there. Get yourself a deal. Economy's not great. The food is good. It's like $1 extra, by the way, if you want to buy yourself the one that has the USDA Prime. It is 100% worth it. And once you figure out your flavors, and I like black truffle, that's my jam. But once you figure out what your flavors are, buy the bigger bags. And you can set up a subscription. And if you do, you'll save 20% all the time, even on your next orders. So that's the way to do it. All right. I promise you guys I'm going to make you feel better about this. This is an AI-generated phone call, but I think this gives up the game. This is what we're dealing with here. How much of this stuff sounds like really, really true to you? It's longer than I normally would play. It's still really funny. So rather than just be grossed out, this is the only way we're going to get through the end of the show is by giving us a breather midway up the mountain as we still keep going. So this is what that phone call, that cringy phone call between Kamala and Tim, if they had the real phone call, it would probably sound like this.
Hi, this is Tim.
It's Kamala Harris. Good morning, Governor.
Good morning, Madam Vice President.
Listen, you weren't my first choice. To be honest, you weren't even in my top 10. But no one else wants to run as my VP because they all know I'm going to lose. You are the only one who is willing to be my running mate.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically career suicide. But I did some dumb shit a few years back, and now I'm totally controlled by the deep state. And so they told me either I become your running mate or I get Epstein in a New York prison.
Now, the fact that we're both radical communists is a slight problem, but I got some instructions from Big Daddy Barack. Basically, we're going to pretend that you're a normal American white guy. There's a bunch of things you did that we got to run away from here. You passed a law requiring tampons in the boys' bathroom in schools. You basically cheered on the George Floyd rioters who burned down your cities. You implemented a snitch hotline during COVID. And Tim, you signed a law that allows the state to take custody of children if their parents refuse to let them transition. I mean, what the f***, Tim? We got a lot of cleanup to do here. But listen, we already got the mainstream media gaslighting America into thinking that you're super normal.
This is America's dad, America's football coach, and the teacher that's cool enough without trying to be cool.
A lot of people have noticed this sort of down-to-earth, likable quality to him.
He's very moderate in Congress.
A moderate Democrat, a centrist, but a more centrist.
Kind of a centrist Midwesterner in persona.
That's pretty funny because I'm weird as f***.
Americans are dumb, Tim. They'll believe anything we tell them.
They are so dumb, right?
They think I'm black. Okay, so here's the plan. In order to hide your own weirdness, we want you to accuse Trump and J.D. Vance of being weird. Just say it over and over again.
Weird, 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 weird. And then they start being weird. They're weird, 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 weird. Donald Trump's weirdness. Very weird, weird. It's just too weird. It's weird, weird. Okay, so how far left are we admitting to being here? Like, are we openly woke?
We have to stay woke. Like, everybody needs to be woke. And you can talk about if you're the wokest or woker, but just stay more woke than less woke. Yeah. No, we're flip-flopping on everything right now. We want to keep the voters confused. You know when your GPS suddenly starts rerouting inexplicably and you have no idea where you're going and you're afraid your GPS might just drive you off a cliff? We're exactly like that.
What do we say if reporters ask us about policy stuff?
Oh, we're not taking questions from reporters, Tim. We're not prepared for that. But if you do find yourself in a tricky spot with a reporter, just cackle.
Cackle.
Yeah, cackle.
You're considered the most liberal United States senator.
Somebody said that, and it actually was Mike Pence on the debate stage. But
yeah. And is that a socialist or progressive perspective?
No. What do you want to know?
Wow, that's horrifying.
Exactly. It's horrifying, but distracting. Okay, so Tim, tell me, your radical left political views, are those real?
Oh, no, of course not. No, honestly, I will have whatever political views you pay me to have.
I love it, Tim. You're like the white male version of me.
You're right. No one voted for me either. Hey, Kamala, let's see what can be unburdened by what has been.
All right, buddy. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Right? Doesn't that sound like what the actual phone call was like? It was just like, good God, can we push this forward? I told you I'm a little clip heavy today. I've been doing this because this is a gold mine of just stupid stuff. But sometimes people just nail it, like right down the middle. That was a perfect bullseye that split the old arrow in the middle of the bullseye. That was Robin Hood down the middle archery. So I appreciate it. I like it when people They speak from inside and they say the truth. Anyway, here's somebody that loves true things. Look for the cameo appearance, by the way, of someone you may recognize. They talk about how they're not going to be doing a press conference. They're not going to be able to go out there in front of the people. Yeah, they can't. And so listen to how funny it is when Chuck Schumer tries to say, the more people see her. Like, we haven't seen her, dude. Where is she?
The more they see her, the more they're going to like her. I saw what she did in the Senate. We served together for 4 years. She cared about families. She could work with all kinds of people, and she was effective in getting things done. One of the things she pushed, which we succeeded in, was $35 insulin for senior citizens. Now we're going to get it for everybody.
What's your response when Trump takes credit of that?
Trump takes credit for so many things he doesn't do and gets the blame for a lot of things he does do. He's lost his bearings, as we can see, day by day.
The best is that Matt Walsh was walking around in the background there doing his Am I a Racist routine. Did you guys see that? He's wearing a red hat, he's wearing a blazer, and he's got the man bun. Matt Walsh, he's like the Where's Waldo of the DNC. A lot better disguise, a lot more effective disguise than whatever. And he's actually publicized it, so it should be obvious to people. But very funny that he's kind of like creeping around out there. The thing is, they're pushing a concept that is essentially communist, right? They think that socialism is neighborliness, and they're doing all these other kind of crazy things. I found this old clip of Milton Friedman, who's brilliant and amazing, and these questions have all been debated before. There's a reason why America decided that we don't need to go down the road of common ownership and redistribution, and why we don't listen to really, really wealthy people trying to act like we should take everything. Communism doesn't work. It doesn't work because human beings are imperfect. If we were all perfect, we could. And communism actually can work in your home, which it does. Because as I told my kids the other day, everything you have is mine, but I let you use it because I'm a benevolent dictator. It just turns out those people at some point in time, they don't know you and they don't care about you, and they're more than happy to take your stuff. So let's have a little taste of Milton Friedman talking to Phil Donahue, I think just passed this week, talking about greed. And it's valuable. It's a valuable thing to just look at the deeper underlying human natures. It's always been there.
Did you ever have a moment of doubt about capitalism and whether greed's a good idea to run on?
Well, first of all, tell me, is there some society you know that doesn't run on greed? You think Russia doesn't run on greed? You think China doesn't run on greed? What is greed? Of course, none of us are greedy. It's only the other fellow who's greedy. The world runs on individuals pursuing their separate interests. The great achievements of civilization have not come from government bureaus. Einstein didn't construct his theory under order from a bureaucrat. Henry Ford didn't revolutionize the automobile industry that way. In the only cases in which the masses have escaped from the kind of grinding poverty you're talking about, the only cases in recorded history are where they have had capitalism and largely free trade. If you want to know where the masses are worst off, it's exactly in the kinds of societies that depart from that. So that the record of history is absolutely crystal clear, that there is no alternative way so far discovered of improving the lot of the ordinary people that can hold a candle to the productive activities that are unleashed by a free enterprise system.
But it seems to reward not virtue as much as ability to manipulate the system.
And what does reward virtue? You think a communist commissar rewards virtue? You think a Hitler rewards virtue? You think, excuse me, if you'll pardon me, do you think American presidents reward virtue? Do they choose their appointees on the basis of the virtue of the people appointed or on the basis of their political clout? Is it really true that political self-interest is nobler somehow than economic self-interest? You know, I think you're taking a lot of things for granted. And just tell me where in the world you find these angels who are going to organize society for us. Well, I don't even trust you to do that.
Mic drop. And as he said, where do these people come from? How do they get into the administrations? How do they do this work? So here you go. This is coming from Catholic Vote. It's also covered by the Daily Caller News Foundation. Biden-Harris security official calls for the queering of nuclear weapons. Yeah, they mean it when they say crazy stuff. These people are batshit crazy. They have lost their damn minds. And so here you have someone called Nayar, a nuclear security official in the Department of Energy, who's advocating for the queering of nuclear weapons in an article that she wrote last year. Queer theory can help change how nuclear practitioners, experts, and the public think about nuclear weapons. What the actual hell does that mean? It's the same thing as having that guy running around stealing women's clothing, which is, of course, the counterlinked article. And this is a pretty lady. I don't know what her story is, but I didn't put a picture on here. She's an attractive female talking about the queering of nuclear weapons in an article that was entitled How LGBTQ plus Inclusion Strengthens Security and Shapes Disarmament. She's a special assistant, which is a person that works directly underneath the National Nuclear Security Administration, Department of Energy sort of offshoot. Queer identity is relevant in the nuclear fields because it informs theories that aim to change how officials and experts think about nuclear weapons in policy. I don't know what any of that means, and neither do you, and neither does she. But when they tell you that they're into this kind of stuff, that they are going to pick not the angels of our better nature, but the retards that have absolute insane ideas, that's how you end up with these people in offices. And here's a little take that happened, I think, yesterday, based on what I can gather. This is the Michigan AG. That's not a person who doesn't have some power. She theoretically was also at least partially responsible for going after the folks in the Whitmer case. And she said that you can take her gay wedding ring off her finger when she's dead. Kind of Charlton Heston style. You know, that constitutional right that is in the Bill of Rights that says you have the right to bear arms, but you also have the right to bear a gay wedding ring? What? This is Dana Nessel.
By the way, I got a message for the Republicans and the justices of the United States Supreme Court. You can pry this wedding band from my cold, dead, gay hand. And I'm retaining a lot of water, so good luck with that.
I'm still a lady. I got lady problems, but also I'm gay and you can fight me for it. What? We don't care. That's the whole point. The fact that you want to do things to kids is the thing that we care about. If you want to be gay and married to another lady, I don't consider it a marriage, but I don't give a shit either. I really don't. The government only has any say in any of this stuff. Anyway, I heard that in the chat. The only reason the government has anything to do with this stuff is because they have a vested interest in having more citizens that pay more taxes, which means they can do more stuff. That's the only thing that the government has to encourage the growth of society. But you're a gay lady and you live with a gay lady, you want to call yourself married? Doesn't affect me. Never has. It just turns out that that's not where it stops, which is why I'm against all of it now. And I want to smash you guys against the wall. How about this one? You guys ready? Because it gets uglier. This is her talking at an unvetted press conference where she knew she could say whatever she wants.
Know what's not a problem for kids who are seeking a good education? Drag queens. Okay? Let me say this. Drag queens, not only are they not hurting our kids, drag queens make everything better. Drag queens are fun. Drag queens are entertainment. And you know what I'll say that was totally not poll tested? I say this, a drag queen for every school. That is what would be fun for kids and lift them up when they're having emotional issues.
What? Michigan, you used to be a party of blue-collar people, and now you have this lady, and that's how you end up with gender-neutral prayer rooms at the DNC. I don't think they had this at the RNC, and it leads me to this video. Here's a picture of someone taking a look inside that gender-neutral prayer room, but with appropriate commentary that is appropriate for that last clip we just saw.
Brother, what's that? What's that, brother?
What's that, brother? What is that? That was a gender-neutral prayer room that was put up. It was a little area where people could go, and there's a floor, little carpets on the floor. I actually think this is how you get to the point where there are people that are talking about Bill Clinton, and they're like, yeah, he represented a piece of the party that no longer is there. It's weird to see him up on the stage. It's not all bad. There are people that know that this is ridiculous and want to play with these people. Not only did Matt Walsh sneak in, not only did James O'Keefe apparently sneak in and run around, which he looked ridiculous, by the way, because James O'Keefe is a stupid LARPer. But this guy, Alex Stringer, went in. And I tagged him on social media and I said it was Ryan Long. I know it's not Ryan Long, people. He's doing Ryan Long's bit in real life. Ryan Long did that funny little piece we saw of the woke versus racist people and how they're saying the same things, but they're coming from different angles. This is a guy named Alex Stringer, who is an Austin pedicab driver. I guess he does a podcast as well. I wasn't familiar with him before this, but I knew that it was him because I shared his video. You guys can get a little kick out of this. He trolls these people so hard. Do you know how batshit nuts you have to be to listen to this man and be like, that sounds like somebody who could be at this conference? He did a bunch of this, by the way. He was walking up and down the lines. He's getting excitement for Kamala. This is what the real excitement for Kamala looks like. It's people who want to make a living making a joke out of it. So enjoy this. This is fun.
What brought you out here today? No, listen, my name is Noah Shorts. I use he, they pronouns. Like, I'm just really excited that we have, like, the first black woman that could be the president of the United States. And, you know, like, my wife, right? We're in a polyamorous relationship. The lover that my wife took is African American. And, like, I've learned so much about the struggle that people of color go through as a result of my wife's boyfriend. And so I'm excited to really do my part to show solidarity for my marginalized communities. And, like, the best way to do that is to get the first woman of color to be the commander-in-chief. And I'm really excited. I'm so pumped. Were you this pumped and excited when Joe Biden was the nominee? I mean, listen, like, I would vote for a corpse over voting for Donald Trump because he's a disgusting fascist, white supremacist pig. But now, like, you know, we get to really make history. We have, you know, like I said, we have the first woman of color to be president of the United States. And, like, you know, our country, it was founded on the values of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And in Kamala Harris, nothing embodies those values more than a Kamala Harris presidency. So I'm pumped. Like, I'm ready. You know, I am so excited. I'm a proud white dude for Kamala Harris, baby. Let's go. Woo! Have you seen any excitement at a Democratic event like in this stadium? Or? No, listen, this is amazing. You know, like, you can't generate. I couldn't see any more excitement. Like, the only way there could be any more excitement is if, you know, maybe you had like an artist or a celebrity performing or opening for Kamala, but no, this is amazing. This is like celebrity level of excitement.
It's perfect, right? Because what do they have? They had Lil Jon come out and do a 2013 song and drop into like old. He's trolling them so hard. He's crushing these guys. And he says all these things. I'd vote for a corpse before I would vote for Donald Trump, right? These are all the talking points internalized. And yes, it's a Ryan Long bit. It's an Alex Stein bit. But he sells it in a much more believable way because he doesn't oversell it. He sells it like the way the people that are running around there kind of get. The last thing, and it's targeted at people that are low information, that don't understand the real game. Imagine clapping for J.D. Pritzker. Okay? They've got the governor of Illinois out there. This, like, he makes Chris Christie looks healthy. He's the nastiest, gnarliest, grossest person. And I want to play the clip of him talking. He's berating Donald Trump's wealth. And then we're going to kind of dig into what a real, quote unquote, billionaire, which he calls himself. Here's how does this pitch land with you if you're a regular person?
Donald Trump thinks that we should trust him on the economy because he claims to be very rich. But take it from an actual billionaire. Trump is rich in only one thing: stupidity.
Yay! What? What is that? Like, how do you sell that? Here's J.D. Pritzker. Let's see. I did a little thing. We did the Obama wealth. How about this one? You just pulled off Wikipedia. The family fortune. 1995. Jay Pritzker, the co-founder of the Hyatt, the hotel chain, stepped down, and Thomas Pritzker took control of the Pritzker organization. And then they broke it up. At the time, they broke it into 11 pieces. It was worth something like $1.4 billion. Everybody got like $1.4 billion. 11 different members of the family. There's some lawsuits about everybody wanted more money or blah, 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 blah. And they sold off pieces of it. He inherited all of his money. He's the asshole that they're talking about. He's the person, the generational wealth that exists in such a fractionalized, small, tiny, sliver of a percentage point of America that gets to live that life. I don't know why I have a picture of Oprah there with her arms wide, but I like that picture too. I just think it's a good picture. They want to sterilize men. They want to neuter men. They want to tell them not to compete. They're going to go after Donald Trump because he's talking about traditional masculinity. See where that takes you. That's brother ew stuff. And then out of nowhere, like he's been doing this a lot lately. I think he's just trying to be kind of like an iconoclast. I don't hate it. Here's Chris Cuomo opening up the game on these idiots. And he's talking about something that I haven't heard other people talk about, the amount of money that is involved in there. And you hear all these platitudes. How in the world do you get big money, major billionaires getting up there talking about socialism unless they're going to be the ones who benefit from it? And they're not scared of these stupid policies because they know that they're covered. And I think Cuomo did a great job of breaking this out on the floor. I don't like Chris Cuomo. I don't mind him telling the truth.
A big theme here at the DNC is that they're going to go after corporate gouging, and they're going to go after corporations, whether it's in taxes, largesse, loopholes. The RNC, we heard the same thing. They're going after the elites, the two sets of rules. Let me reveal a reality to you that has to be spoken to here, okay? These are the soldiers. These are the men and the women that go back to their constituencies and their communities, and they fight. They take time from their jobs. They take time from their families. Republicans and Democrats alike, that's what they do. They need to charge these people up. They need to be able to get them on board. But there's another reality that is literally looking down on them. Greg, look at the ring of sweets, okay? This is not unique to Democrats. There is a game of money. When people talk about uniparty, we are strangled by the money reality in our politics. Those suites start at 500 grand. You think there's like a teacher group up in there? You think it's like the Cub Scouts of Columbia County, South Carolina, that's up in those boxes? Some of them are lobbies and good things. The media boxes, you think they're free? Why do you think I'm on the floor? News Nation is not a broke company. Nexstar is a massive organization. We are corporate media. We don't have one of those boxes because that's the game. You pay to play. Those boxes are filled with the same people that they say they're going to regulate. They are literally looking down on the faithful and being told, yeah, we're going to break down on them. We're going to make them pay their share. They paid $500,000, $700,000, $1 million, $1.5 million to have those seats. They get hotel suites that are probably gifted to the party. And the same thing is true at the Republican side. And they're going to take them down. They're going to change how it is. They are looking down from on high at the people who make the difference in their communities. And that is the reality of politics. And I had my producer walk around and show you those suites. Now, they're not all the same. They're not all the same. But the reality is, in 2000, they spent $300 million on presidential campaigns. 24 years later, you know what they're expected to spend? $10 billion.
$10 billion. Chris Cuomo coming in hard. You guys are all like, oh my God, he said the truth. Yeah, he was a fake when he was on CNN. I bet this is probably closer to a real Chris Cuomo. I bet that Chris Cuomo is not a dummy. He doesn't seem like a dummy. I don't think that he's got a lot of principles, but I think they let him go out there and say the thing that's real. Because dumb people think what they're told. Smart people ask questions. And he's probably smart enough to know. I mean, he made a lot of money doing what he did. Just saying. If you guys want to support what we're about, since you guys just mentioned the Locals channel in the chat, you guys can join us on Locals. It's kyleserafin.com. Put a little bit of stuff out on there. It supports what we're doing. It kind of insulates us against us being canceled, which is always a real possibility. Join the Locals channel at kyleserafin.com. It'll redirect you in there. You can join for free. Absolutely, 100%. You're going to get most of it. You can even stream the show over there. But if you want to join us, it's $5 a month, and you can be part of the subscriber base. And we put some things out, and I try to answer all the questions and all the thoughts you guys have. And I like to interact, and I want to know what you all think, and so we get to play it over there just a little bit. Isn't it nice to see someone say that? The reason they're able to play that game, the reason that Chris Cuomo is opening up the curtain and showing you exactly what it is, $500,000 for a suite for a 1-week thing. There's a reason. It's because the people that are out there that are the faithful, the foot soldiers that he's talking about, are dumb. They are not asking questions. They are willing to take on tasking, and they're going to go do it. They're going to do what they're told. And here is a way that you reveal that. You ask them, what is your favorite Kamala Harris policy? What is making you excited about Kamala Harris? It's the reason why Alex's little bit is so funny, because none of it had to do with policy. He's excited because she's a black female, semi-black, sort of black, West African, Indian, whatever. It's all about Can you just get people to blindly go along with it? And by the way, there's people on the right that do this too. There are people that have no idea what they're excited about Trump other than he's just kind of like pisses people off. But most people that you talk to about Donald Trump, even the low information people, have a policy that they have in mind. Whether or not he can do it or not, it's another animal. But they at least almost always have, it's about the border, it's about the economy, it's about the fact that he's a business guy. Like all the things they say, they're at least something. It's more than anybody here is going to say. And I appreciate that there is more information on one side than the other. It also makes me scared because there's still a lot of people on the other side.
Can you be up for a quick interview?
Yes. Sure. Yes.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
That's a hard one.
What's your favorite policy of Kamala's?
Her being president.
That's your favorite policy position?
Oh, yeah.
How so?
Because it covers everything that she defends.
I'm really excited for her to restore reproductive rights across America.
How do you think she'll go about doing that?
I don't know.
What a fun question.
I don't know. I'm picking and choosing. I mean, I really like most of them.
So you have to look at it broadly, right? It's about what she stands for right now.
What's your favorite of Kamala's policies?
I'm trying to think. Well, actually, more of like, well, you know, what Waltz comes in.
All of her policies, everything from I'm non-binary, and so all of the policies for basic human rights to have our own bodies and do with them as we please, you know.
Her willingness to move forward on affordable health care.
How do you think she'll do that as president?
I think she'll work to motivate the legislature to vote in favor of it.
As like her as a person, just like tops out any policy. I really admire her.
Great, thank you both.
Oh, it's just like because like who she is as a human. I don't know anything really about her. You guys remember this list? It sits on my desk. I had to flip back a few pages. There's no flag but the tranny flag. Abortion for all. We don't like the republic, but we still want open borders, so everyone should be able to enjoy our racism. White supremacy is everywhere. Don't worry about the Constitution. If you don't know anything about what they're about, there's another great video, by the way, of this Alex Stanger going out there and talking to people in the line. And he's like, the last 4 years have been awesome. Like, let's do more of that. And people are like, whoa, no, we're interested in forward and change because Kamala's different, except she's in the administration. You can't make any good arguments right now for this lady. She's an awful candidate unless they plan on stealing it. And here's the reason that I continue to go back to the steal idea. The reason is that when we look at the most loony, aggressive, motivated part of the radical left, they're out rioting. They're out fighting the cops because they don't like who got picked. So how are you going to say that that's going to get them going? They didn't even motivate their own base at their own convention. They have this vanilla version that's sitting in the middle, and they're not that bright, and they don't know what's going on, except the ones that are actually doing the play. And you can see it. And it's legit. Because some people are accepting programming, and the other people are going to profit from it. It seems quite obvious to me. In any case, that's where we're going to wrap up for today. I'll throw one more little plug in here to my buddy Garrett O'Boyle if you guys want to support our merch store. And of course, I left the video off, so I don't have the little lower third, but it is the-suspendables.com. It's the-suspendables.com. And that's how you go support people who actually do have principles and are thinkers and care about a biblical worldview and care about standing up to the government and losing their paycheck over it. Garrett O'Boyle is now in the 2-year mark. In September, it'll be 2 years that they kicked him out of his house, had him sell it, and then didn't give him a job. He moved across the country with a job, and when he got there, they canceled him. If you guys want to support the stuff, you can look at the t-shirts we wear. They're not specific that people are going to go and hate you, but you might actually make a friend when you wear out there. They've got the suspendable S. We've got the upside down badge. It shows that this nation is dealing with law enforcement under duress, just like our political parties. They're captured ideologically. The-suspendables.com. And if you use my name, just like everywhere else, it's in the show notes. KYLE will save you 10% on there. It's just our little thank you. I get nothing out of that, by the way. There's no money involved for me. It's simply because my buddy GOB is a good dude. And he's going to probably push out some new designs at some point, as you guys are asking about. I'm sure of it. First, he's going to burn out the stock that we have. If you guys want to bankrupt or empty out the merch store, it's the-suspendables.com. All right, that's enough on all of that. That is enough for today. I wouldn't leave you without a palate cleanser, would I? Let's do a 5-star review for all of you that are listening. This is where we say thank you for listening, and we get to read something that you have written to us. This one's kind of funny. You guys have a good sense of humor. This is coming from Apple. It's 5 stars. It's from KDev2006. He says, unfortunately, what Tim Walz says about the average Minnesota person's food choices are pretty accurate. I'm from the part of Minnesota that Tim Walz describes as rocks and cows. That sounds amazing. I would be out there, and even if you don't have great tacos, you can always make your own tacos. I'm sorry that you guys don't like spices. I actually think that he was being super racist, especially when he's out there using chili and says he's never heard of it. In any case, do stick around for this. This will make you feel a little bit better. This is a palate cleanser that will remind us that not everybody always hated Donald Trump, because Donald Trump wasn't that big of a deal and he wasn't that controversial. He was a guy that's kind of a comedian, and he did funny stuff, and he was self-effacing. This is a Saturday Night Live skit from 2004. That is in all of our lifetimes, most likely. Very few of you listening to the show, watching the show, were not out there in the world when this was going on. I was in college. Actually, I was about to wrap up with college, or at least I should have been. How about Donald Trump's House of Wings? That's what real billionaires do. They dress up like a chicken.
The whole, you've gone too far.
Goofy, goofy, goofy. The best line in there, by the way, is he says, if you want blue cheese, it'll be $1 extra. That song will be in your head now. It's catchy as all get out. Anyway, we used to be a proper country. We used to have a good sense of humor, and we didn't have to attack people for racism just because they didn't agree with us on our political ideas. So be it. That's the world we're living in. Do the best we can do. We'll keep covering it down. Tomorrow is Friday. We will do a Friendly Friday with my buddy Steve Friend, and you guys can look forward to that. Make sure you've shared the channel. Make sure you've liked this video. We do appreciate all of you guys joining us live as you do so. And yeah, let's catch you in the morning, okay? God bless you.
Thanks for listening to The Kyle Seraphin Show, streamed live weekdays on rumble.com/Kyle Seraphin. Follow Kyle on Twitter, Truth Social, and Instagram @Kyle Seraphin.